actually started with her. My master degree in that time.
MashaAllah.
And until now, alhamdulillah.
You guys got something good over here. This is really nice.
MashaAllah. I don't, even my sickness, he always support me and support me. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, he's a Sunnah-followers, that's for sure. He's all about the Sunnah. Okay, whenever you guys are ready to begin, you can, because we are live.
Bismillah. Okay. Bismillah. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. Sunnahfollowers and all over the world watching us. Brother Muhammad, Jazakallah khair. Barakallah fiqh. And in fact, my dear brother and sister, last Salat al-Jum'ah, after Salat al-Jum'ah, I met Brother Muhammad. He came to do Salat al-Jum'ah together, alhamdulillah. And I told Brother Muhammad what happened exactly with us last week was an Amja conference. Amja conference. All the imams came from America, and alhamdulillah, I don't know what happened. Annie, tell Sister Ziba go to share with the Sunnahfollowers. If not, yeah. And then I told Brother Muhammad, actually, we have a workshop about the hardship of our kids in public school, especially public school. The curriculum in the public school change. We are caring about, we love our kids, and at the same time, we are worried about our kids so much. And why? Because Brother Muhammad will speak about a more important topic. Same time, how to solve the problem is by your youth. Brother Muhammad will discuss actually something I cannot even speak about it, or better than me to speak about this topic. But I discussed with Sister Layla, and please share with us about this, inshallah.
Inshallah. So what's going on in the schools now? I think the parents that are maybe in my age, in my category of the age, you know, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, we had a different time growing up, right? It was more about math, science, curriculum. We had sports, we had you know, home ec, we had auto mechanics, we had different things in our schools that were actually teaching us certain things that was kind of basic for functionality, right? Intelligence to help you out in life. But now these days, it's changed. The curriculum has changed drastically to fit the new times, I guess you can say. And it's really hard to raise a good Muslim child, a good Muslim kid in a non-Muslim environment anymore. And I deal with this a lot in regards to the Muslims out around here. You know, the biggest, or the one thing that I always hear a lot of is, well, we just want to fit in, right? Everybody wants to fit in. Everybody wants to be the same. Everybody wants to assimilate. And I always try to explain to, you know, to everybody, especially to the kids, that we're not supposed to fit in, right? We're supposed to fit out. And what we're supposed to do is take the good from the schools and kind of just ignore and throw away the bad stuff, because there's certain things we can say, there's certain things we can't say. A lot of the times I get the questions about, you know, my friends are going out and they're drinking. Why can't I go out with them? I'm not stupid. I know the difference between being this and that. And I explain to them, well, you know, if you ask a sheikh and imam, they're going to tell you that the Quran says it's haram, it's haram. I'm going to explain to you why those things are haram. Why, what alcohol does to your body, what it does to your brain, what it does to certain people. If you ever watch the movies that these kids are watching, you'll start to know that and notice that nobody can really do anything without drinking and alcohol, right? If somebody, you watch one of those court movies, court shows, and every time they win a case, what do? They go to a bar and they drink. Every time, you know, somebody dies or somebody passes away, they go to a bar and drink. So whether they're happy or they're sad, they're drinking. There's always like a reason for them to do certain things, right? Same thing with marijuana. The same thing with, you know, cigarettes. The same thing with you know, with anything that is kind of like haram in our religion, right? You go all the way to the extreme of the whole LGBT situation, where they kind of push and see, you know, what they can get away with and everything. And then you see people who say, you know, Islam is the last religion standing, right? It's the last religion that kind of stays on point with, this is a sin, it's a sin. We don't play games, right? And some of the things I tell the kids is that we're not built like everyone else. We're built different, right? And that's my motto for the Muslim kids is, whenever they see me out walking around at the messages or something like, oh, but Muhammad, we're Muslims, we're built different. And that's something that we drill into their heads, that we are not the same. We are different. There's certain things that we don't do, right? We don't disrespect. We don't hate on each other. We don't bully each other, right? We don't drink. We don't smoke. We don't go out. We don't look for parties. And I explained to them, if you ever watch the news or you open up a newspaper, and well, back in my days, we had newspapers. Now it's all online. But if you look at these things and you look at the time where bad things always happen, it's always after Isha, right? It's always after dark.
After Isha?
It's always after dark. It's always when the sun goes down. It's always, there's always something bad happening at dark, in the dark time, because that's when criminals' minds think that, oh, it's dark time. I can hide under the dark to do what I got to do. So I explain to people, there's a reason why in Islam, we pray our Isha, Salam, we go to bed. There's a reason why, we pray Fajr and we wake up and we go, right? Because science tells us that you wake up in the morning, you get everything done, you're accomplished, you're good to go. The early bird catches the worm, right? That's the motto that these guys use. So that's why did that motto come up? Because everybody knows when you wake up for Fajr and you get your job done and you start going and you start pounding while everybody's still sleeping, you're getting things done before everybody else. You're accomplishing things. Your life is moving faster than everybody else.
Actually, there's a hadith, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, جنبوا أولادكم, be away from when the sunset, take away, save your kids not outside, not playing outside especially. Save your kids immediately after sunset in Salat al-Maghrib.
Yeah.
You're right with that. And that's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us.
And see, so Islam has what we're just finding out now. Islam knew 1400 years ago.
SubhanAllah.
And so when you look at, and this is why I think a lot of people are converting into Islam and reverting to Islam, because those people are starting to see the truth behind all the stuff that's been so told to us a long time ago. They're seeing the real studies that have shown that this is actually right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, a lot of kids ask, why do people hate Islam? Right. At the end today, in the school I was in today this morning, they were asking me, well, why do people hate Muslims so much? And I said, people fear the truth. Right. People don't like the truth, because if you think about if the world was run by Muslims, what would happen? Think about from a perspective of an adult, of a guy who's a millionaire, right? What would happen if the world was controlled by Islam? There would be no interest.
Would be more rich. Everybody would
everybody would have a house.
Yeah.
Homelessness would be eradicated. There'd be no wars. There'd be peace around. So there would be no money for certain people. So I always tell them there's a reason why they don't like Islam. And when you are afraid of the truth, you will fight as much as possible. You'll fight as much as possible. You'll kill as much as possible. You'll do whatever you got to do to get rid of the truth. But you can't. Because there's so many of us out there, right? Billions of Muslims, mashallah, that are out there. But what's happening now is they know they can't get to people like him or people like me, because we're kind of we're set in our ways. They're going to get to our kids, right? And how do you get to the kids? You get them in the public school systems, because they're in the school system for about 8 hours, right? Think about the time, 8 hours. Then they come home. They got to do homework. That's 2 hours of homework. Let's say 2 hours. Let's be nice.
10 hours.
10 hours just for studying totals, right? Then you have maybe another hour with them to get them taking showers and go to bed. Not even dinner anymore with your kids, right? Because you're rush. Not even let's get with the kids who have sports after school, who do things after school. So where's the family time anymore? Right? And when you don't have family time to connect with your kids,
it's scary.
The only time they connect with anybody is at school. So, and this is kind of what I go back to saying to parents a lot. And, I get a little in trouble a lot from the parents, because they're telling me things like, why are you telling me to play with my kid? Why are you telling my kid to come back to me and make me play with him when I'm tired? Well, he's your kid. You decided to have a kid. Who do you want to raise your kid? The school, the internet, or you? You have to pick and choose who you want to be raising your child. And so it's hard. I get it. It's hard. It's a very tough situation that we're in as Muslims in a non-Muslim environment. We want to stay close to our deen. We want to stay close to our faith, but the kids also want to fit in. with the other kids. They don't want to stand out. They don't want to be the weird kid that doesn't do this certain things, or I don't want to be the weird kid that stops at 1:15 and go pray the hood because I have to go pray, and I don't want people to make fun of me because I'm praying. And I explain to the kids, even at my own job, right? I set some time up. I don't tell anybody what I'm doing. Nobody needs to know what you're doing, but you can go find yourself a nice place and pray. And the schools have to give you the option to do it.
Yes.
Right? They can't say no to you. Hey, there's a closet right there. Go pray in the closet, or go pray in the room that nobody's in right now. Go in the library in the corner. There's a way to go pray, and there's a way to go do your thing. And there's a reason why we pray. There's a reason why we pray 5 times. Right? It's to kind of remind us of who we are and get us that connection back. Right? To Allah. So you can have that conversation with Allah to tell and say what's going on inside of you and what you're feeling, and get all that feeling and emotion out through Allah. And that's kind of your best way of kind of getting away through all that anxiety, all that depression, because I get it. And we were speaking earlier about how anxiety and depression has been like the top of the forefront in this country and in the West, in the total West. And then how you look at other countries in the Middle East, and how you look at other European countries that don't really have mental health issues because they're more faith-based. Not just Islamic countries, Christian countries, Jewish countries, they have more faith, so they don't have as much mental health issues that we have over here.
Yeah.
If you think about it, and think about all the stuff we just talked about in regards to the time they spend outside of the house, the time they spend playing video games and out with their friends in sports, and the amount of time they play and talk with you, who has the most time with their kid, with that child?
So my brother and sister, also there's question, Brother Muhammad and Sunnah followers and online, whoever listen to us. When I was in a conference, in Amja conference, when we are sitting with the imams, from America, imams in America and Canada and Europe, became a lot of imams. And when have lunch and dinner and breakfast, I asked the imams about the LGBT people. And believe it or not, many imams are afraid to speak about it because what? The board, this is very important. The imams, the board of the masajid preventing the imam to speak about this.
And there's a big reason behind the conversation not being talked about. Lack of they're afraid of losing funding.
Funding for what?
For the nonprofit, for their bills, to keep their tax exemption status. And you got to remember, we live in a country where whoever's in charge has the last say of what masjids can say or what churches can say. Not just masjids, churches and other faith-based institutions. Because when you live under a country that has certain rules, you got to follow them. So one of the biggest things that I kind of try to explain to people is that the message should not rely on government money.
But no, it's not the government. With all my respect, I was in South Carolina imam. I give a few talk khutbah al-Jum'ah. People come to me. I said, Sheikh Ibrahim, do not speak about this topic.
Again,
but not because of the money, because alhamdulillah, I have no problem with the board. The people in the community.
Okay, so
the people in the community, not even donating.
It's a two-way street, right? Because a lot of people are afraid of, if you bring up that topic, they're gonna make their kids think some type of way.
Exactly.
And so when you think, like, the same thing happens with like mental health. If you talk about my kid, if you introduce my kid to depression, he might think he's depressed. And it does happen sometimes where these kids are not even listening to what we're saying or what you're saying. They're seeing online or they're watching on the YouTube video, and they say, if you're feeling sad, then you're probably depressed, then you should take this medication.
Yes.
That's better to tell the kid through YouTube than it is for you as a mom, as a dad. I always feel the parents have the best way of talking to their kids. The parents know their kids better than anybody else how to talk to their kids. And I think that imams and the board members are afraid to bring up a topic that they don't know how to handle. Right. And so if you're talking about, don't talk about alcohol in front of my kid, because my kid might get intrigued by it and he might want to try it.
But they listen to other people,
they're going to listen to their friends.
Exactly.
So who is better to talk about that topic of not drinking alcohol, of not doing drugs, of anything like that, of that sort of nature, than an imam or a parent? we're so afraid of teaching our kids or talking to our kids of certain things because we don't want to put that in there. We think we're going to plant the seed. The seed has already been planted. And how do you want to water that seed? Do you want to water that seed educationally and Islamically? Or do you want a society to teach your kid and see and water that seed? If society waters that seed for you, your kid's going to be a mess. But if you, as an imam or as a Muslim, as a parent, plant that seed and water that seed yourself, you'll see what happens, and you'll understand. That kid will understand better why we Muslims are built different. Because we are. I'm sorry, but we're built different. We don't do certain things. We take care of ourselves, right? We take care of ourselves, and we not just through exercising and eating healthy and not eating pork. We will also take care of ourselves through our deen. Right? There's a reason why, I always say, there's a reason why we pray 5 times a day. There's a reason why we have Ramadan for 30 days, right? And we think, oh, that the Quran says it, that's it, we're gonna do it. But there's a reason, there's a scientific reason behind it. It cleans you, it detoxes you, it gives you a better understanding of how everybody else feels around you that doesn't have what you have. It makes you appreciate everything.
Indeed. Brother Muhammad, beautiful things. Our kids is the seeds. The seed, sometimes with the seed in a very soil, good environment, and water it and take care of it, the seed become a fruit.
Mhm.
Now, the majority of our kids now, seeds. Within the seeds, we want our kids to be best of the best. Okay. Now, if the kids now over 18 become more wild, normally, barely, actually, we discussed that in the conference. Not even the kids, even the father, if the boy kiss his father or his kids, become a crime now.
Yeah.
Now, my point: how those seeds become corrupted seed? To fix the seed to be a tree, to have a fruit, to take care of it.
So there's a way of talking to certain kids in a certain age group at different ways, right? And so if you're talking to a 5-year-old, it's not like talking to an 18-year-old. If you're talking to a 12-year-old, it's not like talking to a 25-year-old. There's a certain way of talking to certain people and kind of throwing it in a way of letting them understand how to really explain something to somebody at a different age group, at a different mentality, a different mindset. It's hard. It takes a lot of, years of experience. All right. So when I talk to a 5th grade class, I don't talk to them the same way as I talk to an 8th grade class. I don't even talk to a 5th grade class the same way I talk to a 6th grade class, right? Because 5th and 6th is a different age group altogether. Their mindset is a little bit different. They're still babyish, but they want to become older. 8-year-old, the 8th graders are still, they still want to be babies, but now they're teenagers at the same time. So they think they're better than you. They think they know more than you. So when you have an 18-year-old, a 21-year-old, it's hard because they've kind of already set their mind on how they should live, and they know better than you. And so we've had the same problem here, where I have kids or parents who say, well, my kid said he's 18 years old. He doesn't have to listen to me anymore.
Yes.
Right. My kid's 21 years old. He doesn't want to listen to me.
A lot.
My daughter is, 17 years old. She thinks she knows everything. And it's what I explain to the parents is, it's harder for a parent to explain certain things to a kid because they're your parent. Nobody wants to hear what their parents have to say. Nobody. And subhanAllah, when I have a conversation with a kid and the parent will say, I just said the same thing. I just said the same thing to him. How come he's listening to you and not to me? And it gets like that. It gets annoying. It gets frustrating. Even my own kids, my daughter's 16 years old. My son's 12, I think, or 13, one of those ages. I forget. That's my wife's job to remember these things.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the club.
But when we have these conversations with these kids, because I do talk a lot to older kids, 21, 22-year-olds, people who are about to get married, with the expectations of marriage, explaining to them what you see on TV isn't a reality of marriage. What you see on TV isn't what a friendship that you see on TV isn't reality. What you see on social media is a filter. It's not real. And these 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids, when they hear it coming out from somebody who is working in the field, somebody who's seen it all, and is still seeing more stuff, they put 2 and 2 together. Oh my God, Brother Muhammad, I just thought about what you said last week. You talked about this, and I remembered it, and then I saw it on Instagram, or I saw it on Facebook, and it was I did this thing, and I looked at it the way you told me to look at it, and you're right, it's a filter.
Yeah.
It's not real. The same thing with parents. I have to explain to parents, we want to take the social media away from them, right? We hold on to their phones and we want to like take that away from them. But then what are you doing with them? That's the question, right? When you're taking something away, what are you filling that time up with? And that's kind of what I tell people all the time. Like, you want to talk to your kids, you want them to listen to you, do something with them. The best time to talk to an 18-year-old or an 18-year-old is when you guys are doing something together. And that's the best time to talk to any kid. When you're playing soccer with your boy, or you're playing basketball with your girl, or you're doing some type of thing, or you're baking together, you're cooking and you're throwing flour at each other, you're doing something silly with each other and you're laughing, you're having a good time. That's what they're going to remember. And that's when you have that, you're going to be able to have that conversation. All too well, I've seen parents who spend thousands of dollars on their kids, take them to Disney World, right? Do Umrah, do Hajj, do this and do that. Kids not going to remember that. They won't. How many times have people here have taken their kids to, amusement parks when they were 8 years old or 10 years old and 12 years old? Do they remember? They don't remember these things. But you ask a kid, and I was speaking to a kid the other day who said, man, I remember when me and my dad used to go to the mall, and we used to hang out at the mall. My father and I, he used to buy me popcorn all the time when we used to hang out. That he remembered that, but he doesn't remember Disney World.
What is the reason?
Because the time you spend with the kid,
yeah,
it's deeper than waiting in a line to go on a roller coaster. Walking around the mall and having a conversation with your kid, holding a bag of popcorn and a lemonade.
Big difference.
It's a big difference than going out and waiting in line to get a hot dog from someplace out of amusement park. The time you spend with one of your kids, the quality time that you have with playing basketball for 20 minutes. 20 minutes playing basketball and falling down and making yourself look like you're goofy, and letting the kids score on you, or teaching them something, showing them how to do an oil change, or showing them what an engine looks like. That stuff is what they remember.
Brother Muhammad, so with this now we'll done with this kind of name, seven colors.
The alphabets.
The alphabet, 7 colors. How to deal with this really? Why the conference speaking about this, about like workshop? Me as an imam, the teacher also, it's hard for me. Maybe my background, I grew up in a Muslim country, I'm sheikh, and it's hard for me to reach the heart of the kids in this present time. For Sunnahfollowers here, for example, a lot of moms here. How to deal with this kind of one boy kept, mom, I'm a girl, and the opposite. I'm a girl, I'm a man. How to deal with this serious problem? We know as a Muslims haram. We know that, period. Okay, but unfortunately, the missing of our ummah as a Muslims, al-aqidah, the creed, monotheism.
Yeah,
we are very weak with the aqidah. But to speak to aqidah, you are Steve, you are Steve, you are this. That's why, alhamdulillah, Sunnahfollowers actually aqidah tawheed is number one, but not for everyone.
Not for everyone.
How to deal with this kind of problem, especially if the boy come to you, not the mom or the dad. I am gonna boy, or they are or the opposite. How to deal with this?
So we have to understand that you're living in a country, or you're living in an environment that these agendas are going to be pushed, right? Every so often, every 5 to 10 years, they're changing the agenda. They're going to change
different colors.
Not just that, but also they're going to push alcohol, they're going to push marijuana, they're going to push this, they're going to push LGBT. There's something that's going to be pushed every 5 to 10 years on our kids, and they want to see how far they can push the envelope, right? And so one of the things is teaching our kids how to be aware of what's going to be going on around them, because then let's be real, right? Not all of us can put our kids in Islamic schools.
Yeah.
Right. We can't all, it's expensive, or there's none around us, or it's too far, or whatever the case may be. So in order for us to kind of understand the situation that our kids are in, we have to kind of get in the situation with them, right? Read up on the situation, see what's going on in the school systems. Go into those board meetings and see what they're talking about in the board meetings. Because what I've noticed is a lot of people complain about a lot of different things, but nobody really goes to the board meetings. Nobody really goes to the educational board meetings and sits in and listens to what's going on. and voices their opinions on certain things of what should or shouldn't be taught in the schools. We all want to complain, but nobody wants to say anything,
Yes.
right? We all want we went to school to raise our kids, but we don't want them to raise them the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna work. Our kids are not supposed to be raised by the school. So we as parents,
Huh?
we as parents have to sacrifice so much more stuff, more time, more energy.
The key is the time.
The key is the time and the energy to spend with our kids,
Yes.
right? To explain to them, what did you see in school today? What did you hear in school today? What's going on in school? Talk to me. Because everything now is online. I can go online and get all my kids' educational material.
Correct. Yeah.
And see what's going on. Right. And that's not just the alphabet stuff. It's also what they're teaching about the Middle East.
Yes.
Right. And so I'll have to explain to my kid, yeah, this is what they want you to know, and this is how they want you to learn it. But let me tell you what's really the truth of what's going on and what's happening and why things are the way they are. Right. If we're not spending the time with our kids, because again, it goes back to the 8 hours they have in school. Right. And then they only have 2 hours with you, or 3 hours with you, or 30 minutes with you, depending on what's going on with the kids. Every minute you have with your kid, whether you're driving them to school, picking them up from school, driving them to practice, or eating dinner with them,
But not
you have to explain to them that as Muslims, there's a line that we don't cross. This is haram, and there's the reasons why this is haram. This is the reasons, because at the end of the day, it's all about confusion. If you got a confused population, you can control the population very easily. Right? It's very easy to confuse people, and then they know that at our ages, after 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, their brains are set. But before them, it's very easy to manipulate a kid. With peer pressure is like the number one thing. Peer pressure. Why don't you like me because I'm like this? Why are you being mean to me because I'm like this? Right? They call it a phobia. Right? You're phobic about this, or you're phobic about that. You're this, you're that. And they push this word phobia, right? Because they want people to say that you're afraid of me because I'm like this. And it's not a fear. Because alhamdulillah, we don't fear anything except for
Allah.
Allah.
The kid's not.
But that's why you have to explain to the kids. We don't fear anybody but Allah. If Allah wants this to happen to you, it's going to happen to you. If Allah wants the good for you to happen, it's going to happen. If Allah wants the bad for you, that's going to happen, it's going to happen. But at the end of the day, we are Muslims. We're built different. And I talk to the kids. Again, it goes back to what the age group you're talking about, right? You can't talk to a 5th grade, a 5-year-old, the same way you talk to an 8-year-old, the same way you talk to a 13-year-old. The way we talk to our kids is going to make all the difference of understanding why the alphabet soup is what it is. It's haram. Right? And I see these imams, and I see these people on YouTube and on Instagram where they're asking about these questions and they tiptoe. They're too afraid to answer some of the questions, because they're being recorded or whatever. And it's understandable, because at the end of the day, you don't want to get blacklisted. You don't want to get thrown under some bus that you're a hater or anything like that. But as a parent, you have every right to talk to your kid the way you want to talk to your kid.
Yeah. Actually, in the conference, they said if your son or daughter, they came to okay, the boy become I'm a girl, and he insists to bring people as friends with him. I said no, but we accept you as a son. We refuse. We're not, but we got to bring no kids, no friends come to the house. But they accepted because we don't want to be in the street. What is the kind of solution? I when they said actually your son come to you, mom, I am, or dad, I'm a girl, okay, and bring man with him at the same time. Of course, they have a sexual relationship together. So the father, no, you come alone, but no friends. No. What exactly how to deal with it?
So there's. You're asking a question that's specific to a certain family.
Yes.
So when you ask a question about a specific question for a family, you have to really do a deep dive into that family and see the dynamics of the parents and of the relationship with the child. So you can't. There's no one size fits all solution to these problems that we're talking about. There is none, because at the end of the day, depending on the relationship that you have with your kid, is gonna really justify how you have. It's gonna really kind of steer the conversation of the way you want to have that conversation.
Correct.
Right? You cannot just go and say da 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 da, and you think that it's gonna solve the problem. There's no wand to fix this. This is a battle of years, right? It's a marathon battle. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
You're not going to answer this in 2 seconds, right? So every conversation that you have with a certain family is different. I have family people that I deal with, couples that I deal with, premarital counseling, and I got like 4 or 5 people I'm dealing with right now, couples, and they're young, they're same ages and everything, but they're not all the same. They'll have different problems, they have different questions, they have different issues, they have different things. So there's no blanket solution to me having a same conversation. I can't have the same conversation with all 5 of these couples because they're all different people.
Of course.
So that you can't have the same discussion with anybody in that situation. So you'd have to sit down there for at least a good maybe week or 2 to kind of get to know what the exact situation is, how it became to be, and what has been discussed so far. Then you can have your open discussion on how to solve the problem.
But that's the imam. But a person come this a man or a couple actually in the house and not speaking to the imam. How to deal a person not with the imam teaching him or anybody like somebody can teach you do this, do this, do this. I know we have to understand the mentality of the parents also. A lot of parents problem their kids obey. They don't know.
Because when you go to a house and you have a parent who is a Muslim, but they drink alcohol or they bring haram into the house with haram money or something like this, then you can kind of say, well, what do you expect to happen to your family when you're bringing in
I agree with
all
that.
this haram stuff? So you can't say, again, I go back to the whole one size does not fit all. You have to sit down with a family and you have to explain and find out what the situation is and find out that the little nuts. There's things in the conversation that come up and when I have these discussions with families and people that they don't even realize what they're saying until somebody else from the outside says, did you see what you just said? Did you hear what you just said? Let me repeat to you what you just said. And when you have that conversation and they say, oh, I did say that. Because now it's not the mom yelling, it's not the husband yelling, it's somebody else, a third party that has we say like there's no skin in the game. Right? I'm not going to get anything from you guys succeeding or you guys failing. I want you to succeed. I need our kids to succeed. I need couples to stay together. I want our Muslim families to be tight knit because that's the only way we're going to survive. Right? We've allowed the Western mindset to.
What happened? Did they get disconnected?
Yeah, I think so.
So they're down there where that hurricane is, right? Okay, hold on, guys. They got disconnected. I think it's where that hurricane is. It's not me though, right? Okay, give us a second here. This was so good too. Hold on, guys. Let's see what's going on. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna switch computers.
Sorry, sister. We are here now. Sister Layla. Sister Layla. The camera is not on.
Yeah, she's working on it.
Okay. I think the wind came to our area then.
Okay, she said you can turn it on. You can start it.
Sorry for that, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, we'll be back, inshallah. Sorry about that.
It's okay. No, it's all right.
Sorry, I think we have some wind in the area. That's why.
The hurricane's coming through.
Yes. Yalla.
So, I
Yeah.
lost my train of thought.
Sister Layla, anybody can have a question and share with us, inshallah. The Brother Muhammad is here, inshallah. Okay. Any question, speak up, inshallah, before we continue, inshallah. So, my point, brother, actually, inshallah, today we speak about these colors, 7 colors in the conference. Inshallah, next week we speak of it more serious problem. But this is the colors now. If a person not connected with the imams, not with the counselor, or somebody teach with them, not the parents afraid even to speak about this time.
Mhm.
Afraid. By the way, is normally people from India, Bangladesh, even in Palestine, this topic, the parents afraid.
Mhm.
It's a problem. The kids become like this.
Well, again, it comes to wanting to fit in.
Exactly.
Right? We want to fit into an environment that we don't belong in. And so we have to remember that we're different than everybody else. We have a set of rules that we follow. And alhamdulillah, those rules are for a reason. There's a big reason why we have these rules, right? And maybe because it's not explained properly, or it's not explained to what people what Muslims need to hear or want to hear. Unfortunately, speaking to a lot of the youth, personally speaking to a lot of the youth, about a lot of the kids. When I say kids, I'm talking about 20, 25-year-olds who's known me for years, who have an open conversation with me when we're out doing certain things at different messages, different areas. And they'll say, well, we can't be really close to the imam. Everything is haram, haram, haram.
Yes.
Everything's haram. Everything's boring. Everything, Islam is boring. And so when you talk to these kids, when you sit down and have a conversation with these kids, it makes you start to think, what are they hearing about Islam? How are they hearing about Islam? Right? And so if you're telling me, you're coming to me, and maybe there's imams that I've seen, have known, and they're right. Some of these imams that I've run into, that I've sat in lectures, because I go to different masjids, just to kind of sit in and get a vibe on every different imam, different person. And I will say, this imam is, he's not going to get to anybody with the way he's talking. He's not going to really impact anybody. You have, as an imam or as a leader, you have maybe 1 hour with a whole group of people listening to everything you have to say. You have 1 hour to make an impact on all these people.
Yes.
How are you going to converse with these people? How are you going to resonate and really let them understand and love and feel the passion for Islam? And if you have that 1 hour and you don't do a good job of it, and you don't keep the people, really, not just entertained, but like really observant and really into what you're saying, you're going to lose the people.
Yes.
And then nobody's going to really want to, come back, or they're just going to come because they have to, because it's Friday prayer, they got to show up there. Because we know people don't come to the masjid except for Ramadan and Friday. Most likely.
Yeah.
And so there's reasons for that, right? Because we're tired, or we got too much going on, or even when you go to Amman, when you go to Jordan, when you go to these countries that have masjids at every corner.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, why is nobody going? You have a masjid at every corner. I have to drive 15 minutes to go to a masjid. These people have right behind their houses, and they're still not going.
Except in Gaza.
Except for Gaza. I don't know Gaza too much. I've never been out there. Inshallah, I'll be able to go soon. But when you see the connection being lost,
yeah, I agree.
And it's not just the kids; it's the parents.
Yeah.
So how do we expect our kids to be close to a masjid, to be close to an imam, or to be close to their deen, if we're not?
Yeah, in Egypt, actually, in Egypt, I went 1 month in Egypt, 1 month. Every Salah, I go to a different masjid, every Salah. Barely to see Salat al-Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr. Barely to see people praying.
Yeah.
But the Friday, masjid full.
Packed.
Back.
You can't find
Only Friday.
only Friday. And so kind of, we make a joke about it. We laugh about it, and we think it's funny. But at the end of the day, our kids are being pressured
Yes.
into certain things that we don't categorize ourselves with, right? Then we bring up the LGTB, but I'm also talking about the backbiting, the talking behind people's back, the making fun of people, the everything's a joke to these guys. Everything's joke, 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 joke.
Especially
joke.
online now.
Especially online. They say things online, not realizing that everything you post online is saved. It's on. And you can't
Yeah,
say I was just joking, because at the end of the day, when people are looking to hire you, and this is something I talk to the high school kids about, and the middle school kids about, because when you're 5 years from now down the road and you want to get a job somewhere, or you want to become a doctor, or you want to become a lawyer, just I know from law enforcement part, we do background checks, 6 months of background checks. And now, this was how long ago? This was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. It was a 6-month, 8-month process. Now we Google you to see what you've been doing online, to see, okay, this guy got an Instagram. Let's see what he's posted for the last 5 years, 6 years.
In Google?
In Google, you can find anybody's information. You can find out what they're posting. If these parents don't realize and know how to put things on private, right? Because we want everybody to be our friend. If you put things on private, nobody can be your friend. Unless you give them a request and say, can you be my friend?
Yeah.
So they leave it open so people can say, oh, I want to friend this person because he's so funny because of the stuff he says. Right. And then I explained to the kids, look at the social media influencers who are out there. All the people that are on social media, they say one bad thing, they lose all their followers, then they lost everything.
Yeah.
You go apply for a job as an engineer, you go apply for a job as a doctor, you go apply for a job as a lawyer. They're going to look at you and they're going to say, look what you posted. You posted this in 2021. You posted this in 2017. We don't want somebody out here like that. So and I explained to the kids, be careful what you're posting, be careful what you're looking at or what you're watching. Right? Because everything that we watch, everything that we do, everything that we listen to has an impact on our bodies and our hearts.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
So when you're watching these movies and you're watching these shows, even in my own house, we try to watch a family movie together. And the next thing you know, one scene is a bad scene and it's 2 girls or it's 2 boys, and then you're like, oh, why do they have to keep putting these rainbow stuff in these movies? And again, they do it for a reason. If you notice how on the movies they have ratings, rated PG, rated G, rated MA, rated, and they've lowered the bar so much on the ratings, right? Rated G used to be for kids, the big rated PG used to be for little teens, little 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds. PG-13, well, for 13-year-olds. And now the stuff that they're putting in is for 13-year-olds, 8-year-olds. Why do these kids need to see all these things? Because they want to normalize certain things. Normalize the bad. If it becomes normal, Mom, why are you saying it's haram? It's normal. We live in America. It's a normal thing in America. We live in Canada. It's normal. We live in this. It's normal. God. And you'll hear that a lot with our kids because that's all they know, because that's where they spend most of their time.
Yes.
Right. When they're spending most of their time, that's become normal for them.
Yeah, actually, it's careful, Muhammad. I watched something with my wife in Disney. In Disney,
it's the worst one.
Believe it or not, about drugs and how to deal with drugs and CIA and FBI and I was shocked. In Disney?
Yeah.
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Brothers and sisters, 45 minutes actually, and few minutes left. If you have any questions, Sister Layla, we'll share it, inshallah.
Yes, I have a comment, a suggestion from a couple of sisters here. They're saying both of them are saying that their kids are in Muslim schools. And they're saying perhaps we need to address the problem there as well, because the Muslim schools have taken on the same problems as the non-Muslim schools. One sister said that her son has been beaten up 3 times in the Muslim school because he drinks Coca-Cola, because he wears Nike shoes, And these Muslims are telling him that he's a Zionist and he supports Israel when this is not true. So she's taken her son out of the school now because when she met with the principal is just as uneducated as the kids and said, yes, well, why do you do this? Buy these shoes for your kids and let your kids support Zionism. So that's what the one sister is saying. And then the other sister is saying, you know, her child has experienced so much racism in the Muslim school because her child does not speak Arabic, because her child is dark in color, her child's being called a kafir. She said, so perhaps we need to also address that the problems of society are not just the non-Muslim schools, but our Muslim schools are filthy as well. She said, I'm going to homeschool my kids. That's the best thing for me.
So she's absolutely right. That all comes down to the administration, right? If the administration doesn't know how to handle these certain situations, that's why there's educated people that know how to do these things. These are the things that I talk about in Islamic schools: racism, love for each other, why we're one ummah, why Islam isn't just an Arab religion, right? And what is it? 70% of the people that are Muslims are not even Arabs.
Yes.
Right. So there's a way of explaining to parents and to people that racism in Islam is haram, number one. Number two, let's talk about the Coca-Cola and the Nikes and all that kind of stuff. And trust me, I get it. We all want to boycott, we all want to do our thing, our due diligence, but there's a certain way of going about it the different ways. Right, pulling somebody to the side and saying something to them is different than beating up a kid and doing that. That's totally not the way of spreading Islam, right? So I don't know whose school this is or what school this is. If it's down here in my area, let me know. Text me the address and I'll go to that school and I'll talk to them myself about it, because these things don't need to be happening within our own ummah. Right. One of the things I talked to the kids today was understanding that we are one ummah, right? Just because we have these little man-made boundaries of Syria, Lebanon, they call it, Arabia and Palestine. That's man-made created things.
Yes.
It's not, there's no such thing. The birds don't go flying over borders. Birds just fly. We can't, say that, we are this and we are that, but we don't care if you're a Muslim. That's it.
Yes.
You're a Muslim.
Plus, by the way, Coca-Cola, by the way, sister, with all my respect, it's the poison. I used to drink Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and believe it or not, I have a new liver transplant because of the Coca-Cola. So regardless boycott or not, but Coca-Cola and Pepsi or this kind of soda is very, very bad for your kids.
Yeah, but I see the point they're making too. I mean, we've gotten away from there. This is just a sickness. First of all, Islam doesn't command anyone to boycott anything. The Prophet Muhammad didn't do that. That's not how we fight as Muslims. We don't fight that way. We fight with taqwa Allah, and we fight with supplication and obeying Allah's laws. But I see what they're talking about. And this is what I think that Brother Ziada, you're going to be great at. We have a big problem here in America with these Muslim schools, and these sisters in Texas are talking about the molestation. I mean, we've taken on the problems of, oh yes, the kids are being sexually molested in some of these Muslim schools. Oh yes, see, maybe you guys are not aware. It's a big problem. Then we become just like the non-Muslims, to the point that we've taken on their problems, the racism, the abuse. A lot of the sisters here are typing that they would never put their kids in no school, Muslim or non-Muslim. This all about homeschooling. And I agree with them because I get the complaints and I know what's going on in some of these schools. But my thing is this, it's like Dramali said, we deviated away from Tawheed. We don't know what our purpose is in life anymore as Muslims. We don't know the lawful from the unlawful, beating kids up because they wear Nikes. I wear Nikes, try to beat me up. And, this is because I drink Starbucks. By the way, Starbucks and no company in America can send any money to any government because you're going to jail. Sorry, the bank ain't doing it. But that's not even the issue. The issue is we got to get out of that ignorance and look at the price we're paying with our kids. Our kids are being sexually molested. Our kids are being beat up. They're being abused, even in Muslim schools. It needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Because we've taken on the ideology of the Kafirs.
Okay.
So you're absolutely right. And I did not know that that's going on over there, because here, I mean, I just know what's happening in my county. Unless I'm told or made aware of things, I don't know about things. But here, at least here in the Islamic schools that I go to, we have about 3 or 4 of them that I go to around here. We don't have that deep of a problem up there because we, alhamdulillah, I do have to say that our administration in these schools are pretty good. They're pretty good with keeping on the deen. They're pretty good with, we have good imams that are doing the Islamic studies classes and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know, and it's sad, I did not know that stuff is happening over there. I don't know who you guys have as administration. I don't know who is in charge over there of the Islamic schools up there, but it sounds to me that you guys don't have any really good educated people out there to talk to these kids.
Agree.
And so it takes a certain someone, because like I said, I got my master's degree. I went to college, and just because I've seen 8 to 10 people graduate with me, there's 8 of us that have the same degree, but not all of us are the same. Okay, and I've explained to him, like, you talk to certain people a certain way. I can say something one way and somebody else can say it the other way, but it's the same exact thing. And I've been told that from other schools, from other imams who would say, well, brother, I'm saying the same thing you're saying. How come they're listening to you, but they're not listening to me? Well, brother, there's a certain way. There's a genuinity when you're talking to somebody. Are you talking to somebody? Are you saying what you got to say out of love? Because you're not getting anything out of this. I don't get anything out of you succeeding or you failing. Right? But I need to see you succeed just for my own personal yay. I want to be happy. Right? And so when you're having somebody who is not having the right conversation or trying to have the right conversation the wrong way, makes a big difference in how those kids are going to really get what you're trying to tell them, what you're trying to throw at them. Because you can tell the kid it's haram to beat up somebody, but then it's also a way of saying, listen, let's talk about why it's haram. You have a brother, you have a sister. How would you feel if I did this to you? Or if I did this to your brother? If I did this to your sister? If I did this to your mother? The same way we talk about the topic of what's going on overseas. Imagine if I ran into your house and I took your house and I, killed your wife and did all this and did all that. How would you feel? And then they tell you, oh, I'm angry. Well, then you became a terrorist now because you were angry. Right? So if you talk to these kids in a certain type of way, you can really get down and let them understand something, because they start feeling some type of way. The kids I saw today that I went to the school, back to the school, they were told me about the stuff we talked about last year. They remembered the stuff that we talked about last year. Because that's the first thing I did when I came into the classroom is, what did we talk about last year? And they just regurgitated everything most of the stuff that we talked about.
The opposite, the professor make a lecture and I not even remember anything. Yeah.
And so when I see that, when I hear that, when I feel that, I'm like, okay, they're really understanding, they're really got. And I'm not just talking about the Muslims. I go to the non-Muslim schools. I go to the non-Muslim schools and I explain to the kids things and talk to them about certain things. And when I go back, I explain, oh, brother, Mr. Muhammad, when you came last year, you told us about A, B, and C, A, B, and C, A, B, and C. And I did this and I did that. I deleted my account. I deleted my TikTok. I did all this stuff. And I put myself on private mode for this. And I stopped posting certain things. Oh, okay. I don't remember saying any of that stuff to you.
Yeah.
I don't remember you personally, but I'm glad you got something out of it.
So the point of my dear brother and sister is that Islamic school is good, but also something happening like this, especially this kind of imagine, you have to see the teacher, the principal who's in charge, and you're supposed to speak to the principal for sure. This is dangerous.
And this let me say from a law enforcement perspective, if these things are happening to our kids in the Islamic schools, we have to let law enforcement know this is happening.
Yes.
You cannot stop and say, oh, it's a Muslim school. I don't want to get the police involved. No, you get the police involved. Because at the end of the day, we still live in a country that we have to abide by laws.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, if you're not getting the law enforcement involved, it's going to happen to somebody else.
Oh, said brother and sister, by the way, Sunnahfollowers, who are watching us online, Brother Muhammad, he's in the police. He is in the police. But now he's a civilian now.
I'm a civilian.
Civilian now. But he's normally outside. I met him last week with the t-shirt. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But there's any other questions, guys?
Question.
Also, another sister says another good topic she would like to suggest is, she said, you talked about depression. This is so true. She said, because my teenage son, he's suffering. I mean, he's in and out of Islam because of what's happening in the world. He doesn't understand why Allah would allow this to happen. He's confused. She said, I talked to him. I have him join the classes here and he'll be okay for a minute, but then he'll go back to this depression and I'm afraid I'm going to lose my son. How do we get help our kids to cope with this, what's going on in the world? Is what she typed. This what's going on in the world.
And you know what? It's funny because yesterday we had a group of kids that came to the masjid, 20-year-olds and over. And you know, they last night,
yeah.
You know, we have a talk. They don't, you know, we talk outside the masjid because I'm not an imam, I'm not a sheikh, I'm not anything like that. But we have these discussions, and some of the stuff I learned when I'm watching these da'wah channels and Muhammad Ali and you know and all these guys. And when they talk about stuff like this, it kind of resonates on how they say things. So I would say to your son to look online on these YouTube guys. Muhammad the da'wah, he does da'wah. Muhammad Ali, his name is. Very good guy who answers these kinds of questions. English. It's all English speaking. Because you know my Arabic is terrible, so I listen to these English guys, and he talks about you know this life being a test and how you know when you're seeing everything that's happening around us. And again, it goes back to the whole thing where I talked about the kids asking me why do people hate Muslims so much? Why do they advertise us to be such negative people on the movies? Right? Why is the Muslim guy always a terrorist? Why is the Muslim guy always the bad guy? Right? Whenever you watch an action movie and they're trying to stop the bomb from exploding, it's always Muslim people. And so when you go and you really dive down, and this is something that to talk to your kids about, when you really dive down deep into the religion, when you get closer to Islam, the closer you get to Islam, it's weird, it's funny, it's exciting, and it's something I can't answer. But when the closer you get to your deen, the less depressed people get. It's don't ask me why. I don't know why. Maybe because they're getting close to Allah or something. But the closer you get to your deen, the closer you understand the religion, I've noticed people get less and less depressed.
Yeah.
And I can't, or I'm not a sheikh. Like I said, I'm not a sheikh, I'm not a scholar, I'm not anything like that. But what I've noticed is when I see these kids gravitating closer to, and I wish I did that when I was younger. I wish I got closer to my deen. I wish I wasn't so wanting to be a track star, football, whatever, money, saving, working, just like that. But I've noticed that when our kids get closer to the deen, it slowly starts to, like, the depression slowly starts to go away because they start to actually, like, I don't know, like, I guess, feel the deen. And you see a lot of that in the reverts, right? The people who come back to Islam, they love Islam more than the Muslims who are born into it. And it's always because they can appreciate. They sit down, they read, and they understand, and they learn, and they read, and it's so weird because we're brought up in it, we're raised in it, but we don't appreciate it.
SubhanAllah, yeah. So, brothers and sisters, 10 o'clock now. We just finished, inshallah, right now. If you have any question remaining for a topic, also send it to Sister Layla and send it to Brother Muhammad here to discuss it next week. Either Brother Muhammad and I, we are together, inshallah, with our neighbors. So for now, we stop now for now, inshallah. May Allah Azza wa Jal guide us and guide our kids. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وارزقنا فيما اعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت واهد لنا اولادنا يا رب العالمين. Allah guide our kids يا رب, our family يا رب. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. All right.